Hi, my name is Professor Dr. Debaroti Haldar, and in today's video session, I am going to discuss about the common law and civil law system, and also adversarial law and inquisitorial law. Now, we are going to discuss about the civil law system. As we have earlier seen that civil law system is relatively a new system of legal administration if compared with the ancient Vedic system or, for example, ancient Hindu legal system. The origin of civil law system can be found in Roman law jurisprudence approximately at 1066 AD. Civil law system gives much emphasis on codified laws, statutes, policies, and provide strict guidelines. The role of the judges in civil law system is significant. It basically includes four typical roles of the judges when we speak about the civil law system. This includes interpreting of the statutes. Even though seeing from the Indian, US, UK perspectives where majorly common law system is followed, we have seen that the judges are duty bound to interpret the statutes. The civil law system basically emphasizes on this particular role of the judges because the judges are also duty bound to see the application of the laws within the meaning of the codified laws. So we would basically get to see that the judges are duty bound to interpret the statutes, to stay within the meaning of the statute, and also to see the proper application of the laws within the meaning of the codified laws. The role of the judges in the civil law system also includes suggesting change in the law to the legislature. In India, common law and civil law both are followed in a mix and match manner. However, more emphasis is given on common law. The same system may also be found more or less in the US and also in the UK system. That is the reason when we get to see any judgment from the apex court or from any higher court of appeal, we do get to see that the judges may suggest some changes in the law, may prescribe some better amendment of the laws and suggest the legislature to change that law. But the judges, especially in the common law system, may not have the right to pressurize the legislature to go ahead for amending the law. As for example, in India, we have seen that sexual harassment at workplace was seen by the judges in the light of a new necessity, and therefore the judges created, the courts basically created the Vishakha guidelines, on the basis of which protection and prohibition of sexual harassment of women at workplaces law was basically created. But in the civil law system, we do get to see that this particular function of the judges gets more emphasis, and hence it is also within the role of the judge in the civil law system for suggesting the change in the law to the legislature. Civil law system also emphasizes on the role of the judges in prescribing the sentences, awards, etc. within the meaning of the codified laws. As such, we do not get to see a broader scope of the judicial discretion, of the judicial understanding of applying some restorative justice ideas or therapeutic jurisprudential ideas for reforming the accused person. As such, the judges in the civil law system may need to stay within the meaning of the codified laws and also may need to prescribe sentences, awards, etc. within the meaning of the codified laws. However, we must also understand that as the judges may also prescribe for changes in the laws to the legislature, it completely depends upon the sweet will of the legislature to make a particular statute, especially criminal law statute, as therapeutic or restorative or reformative. Now, we will see which are some prominent countries which may follow the civil law system. Maximum, we would get to see some European countries which may follow civil law system. Civil law system is also followed by some Asian countries. As such, France, Germany, Italy, etc. from the European countries or European Union countries follow civil law system. At the same time, Indonesia, Japan, etc. follow civil law system. Now coming to the question of common law. Common law is basically a broader understanding, and common law also finds its origin, or it can also be traced back to the Roman law jurisprudence. But as I just mentioned, the scope of common law is broader than civil law. Roman law jurisprudence is basically taken over by William the Conqueror of England to unify all customs, statutes, laws, policies, etc. as common law system for all. We must understand that when the Romans conquered parts of England, they brought with them Roman law jurisprudence. But at the same time, in England, there were several statutory policies, there were several tribal policies, etc. were also existing. William the Conqueror had basically put everything together within the umbrella term of common law that would be applicable for England throughout England. And this common law system basically existed over the years that would be applicable to the countries which would be coming under the colonial ruling system of England. As such, the common law system has spread over to countries which had liberal judicial system. The essential elements of common law system are as follows. We do not get to see much dependence on codified laws. The judges are at liberty to basically follow their own court's precedences or the former judges' precedences. The judges are also at liberty to follow good foreign court judgments also. Liberal interpretation of the laws by the judges can be allowed within the common law system. Judge-made laws are given priorities, and that is the reason I just said here that judicial precedents may also find significant role in the common law countries. Judges have the liberty to strike down legislature-made laws, and that is the reason we do get to see there are several laws which are considered or which have been considered as not fitting anymore, or in certain situations where we do get to see that the laws are not compatible with the system, such laws may be struck down by the judges. One of the very good example could be Shreya Singhal versus Union of India, where Section 66A of the Information Technology Act was considered as not a fitting law, and therefore the Supreme Court decided to scrap this so-called draconian law because it was ill-framed and at the same time it was being misused. Criminal justice system influenced by the judicial understanding of the cases, circumstances, rights of the parties, factual circumstances and liberal interpretation of laws, and this can be seen especially in the common law system, that is in the countries that follow the common law system. The criminal justice system are basically influenced or is influenced by the judicial understanding of the cases, because here the discretion of the judicial understanding is given prime importance, and also the criminal justice system is also influenced by the circumstances, the rights of the parties, including the rights of the arrested person, rights of the victims, etc., the circumstances under which a crime had been committed, and also the liberal interpretation of the laws, so that a balanced approach can be given to both the parties. This is basically seen in common law systems. Just like how we saw certain European countries and also certain Asian countries follow civil law system, we would get to see that there are several countries. Basically, the number is higher than those countries which follow civil law system. So these countries basically follow common law system. Most of these countries also follow a mixture of common law and civil law system, but with greater emphasis given on the common law system. These countries may include USA, UK, Canada, Australia, Bhutan, etc. We would be better understanding about the application of the common law system and also about the significance of the common law system if we see some judgments, some leading case laws from the common law system. One of such leading case law is Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka. This is a US Supreme Court case law which basically indicated for striking down US state laws on racial segregation of the schools. Next case is Griswold versus Connecticut. This was a landmark decision of the US Supreme Court in which the court ruled that the Constitution of the United States protects the liberty of married couples to buy and use contraceptives without the government restriction. This case involved a Connecticut Comstock law that prohibited any person from using any drug, medicinal article or instrument for the purpose of preventing conception. The court held that the statute was unconstitutional and that the clear effect of the Connecticut law is to deny disadvantaged citizens access to medical assistance and up-to-date information in respect of proper methods of birth control. Griswold versus Connecticut also touches upon the nuances of privacy when it comes to the sexual relationship between the married couple. Now, we will discuss about adversarial system and inquisitorial system, which are very much deeply connected with the common law system and civil law system. What is adversarial system of justice? Adversarial and inquisitorial systems of justice represent two different means of conducting trials. We just got to see that in the civil law system and in the common law system, these two systems basically emphasize on how the judges should behave, what are the roles of the judges, and whether the judges can basically come out of the codified laws or whether the judges can be having a liberal interpretation or not. Adversarial system and inquisitorial system basically speaks about conducting of the trial. That means it will be speaking more on the role and also the rights of the prosecutors during the prosecution or during the trial. In the adversarial system, the accused is presumed to be innocent and the burden is on the prosecution to prove beyond reasonable doubt that he is guilty, which means that the prosecution is completely duty bound to prove the guilty of the accused person and also to prove how far the victim had been victimized. The accused also enjoys the right to be silent and cannot be compelled to reply. As we can understand from here, adversarial system is more or less connected with the common law system. Adversarial system is based on the opposing sides acting as challengers. That means the prosecution and the defense are basically acting as challengers with each other, who compete to convince the judge and the jury that their version of the fact is the most convincing one. The lawyers are given free choice in terms of which issues are to be presented, which sort of evidences are to be brought in support of their submissions, and which witnesses are to be called. Here, the lawyers, including the prosecution and the defense, can take the liberty to even go ahead for searching who is the best evidence or who is the best witness. The judge presides over the trial and rules on disputed issues of procedure and evidence, asking questions of the witnesses only to clarify evidence, and concludes the trial by summing up the facts for the jury and advising them of the relevant law. Here, the judge basically acts like a referee who does not go for playing directly, but who may basically oversee the entire procedure, the entire system, so that the lawyers or the challengers, they do not basically cross their boundary lines, but they support their own clients, whether it is the victim or whether it is the accused person, within the meaning of the procedure. In the adversarial system, it is not open to the judge to inquire beyond the facts and evidence that are presented by the opposing lawyers. His role is largely, as I mentioned just now, is passive. He is an impartial referee who advises the jury on matters of law. In the inquisitorial system, on the other hand, we do get to see that the accused is presumed to be innocent, and it is the responsibility of not the prosecution alone, but more on the judges to discover the truth. The role of the judge in an inquisitorial system, which is based, as the name suggests, on an inquiry into the case. Thus, the judge is not limited to hearing the submissions of the parties, but the judge can direct the lawyers to address specific points or to call particular witnesses. This is the thing basically we do get to see in some trial procedures in the common law systems also. Again, I must emphasize on the point that inquisitorial system, certain points of the inquisitorial system have got some kind of mixed up with the adversarial system also, but in the inquisitorial system, the judges are not mere referees. As I just mentioned, that the judges basically play a more significant role than what we get to see in the adversarial system. The title of the presiding judge as Judge d'instruction, which translates as investigating magistrate in the French criminal justice system, gives an indication of the role of the judge in directing the proceedings. In almost all the resources, study materials, etc. on the inquisitorial system and the adversarial system, we would come across this particular notion or idea that the judges basically in the inquisitorial system takes more responsibilities to find out the truth, and also within the meaning of the codified system of the law, they would try to find out what is the fact and what are the actual points of law. Role of the inquisitorial system is not to determine guilt or innocence of one particular person, but to find the truth. As such, the judge as investigating magistrate conducts an inquiry that involves the questioning of the witnesses and suspects, the issue of search warrants, and an examination of the evidence with the aim of discovering both incriminating and exculpatory evidences. Now here we must see, or we must understand one thing: the granting of the warrant or the issuing of the warrant basically can be seen in the adversarial system also, because this is something which is an inherent power of the judicial magistrates. But when we see from the inquisitorial system perspective, we do get to see the role of the judges as having more understanding, more power than the adversarial system, because the judges here are the investigating magistrates. Now we will understand the difference between the two in a point-wise manner. For example, the common law countries use an adversarial system to determine the facts in the adjudicating process. On the other hand, we will also get to see the inquisitorial system is associated more or with the civil law system, and it has existed for many centuries. However, overlapping may be possible. Secondly, the prosecution and the defense in the common law countries using adversarial system basically compete against each other, and the judge serves as a referee to ensure fairness to the accused and that the legal rules of the criminal procedure code or criminal procedure law are followed properly. On the other hand, in the inquisitorial system, we do get to see that it is characterized by extensive pre-trial investigation and interrogations with the objectives to avoid bringing an innocent person to the trial. And this pre-trial investigation can also be done not only by the prosecutor alone but by the investigating magistrate also. The adversarial system assumes that the best way to get to the truth of the matter is through a competitive process to determine the facts and applications of the law accurately. But on the inquisitorial process, we can see that it can be described as an official inquiry to ascertain the truth, and more or less this particular duty is on the judicial magistrate. Obviously, the prosecutor and the defense will be playing major roles in achieving this particular aspect. In the adversarial system, we basically get to see the judge serves more as an arbiter between the claims of the prosecution and the defense. But in the inquisitorial system, the process itself grants more power to the judge who oversees the process, and he is just not a mere referee, but he is also an investigative magistrate. That means he plays a very significant role in the inquisitorial system, and this particular investigating part is more than the adversarial system. When we speak about Indian criminal justice system, as we do understand, Indian criminal justice system is not strictly adversarial. Some provisions in the criminal procedure code adhere to the adversarial system. Some basically go for inquisitorial system. Now, I will be discussing about the mixed system for India from the perspective of criminal procedure code. As I have just discussed that the common law system and the civil law system may have some unique differentiation points, but we would get to see that India has got an overlapping of both the systems. Similarly, Indian criminal procedure practices may also take up or may also show certain characteristics of adversarial system, at the same time inquisitorial system. Let us check some provisions from the Criminal Procedure Code of India to find out where adversarial system may get more significance, where inquisitorial system may get some significance, and where both these systems are basically matching with each other or joining hands with each other from the criminal procedure perspective. We will see in sections 228 and 240 of the Criminal Procedure Code, where the code suggests that the charge against the accused is to be framed by the court and not the prosecution. This allows the court to refine the prosecution's accusations, and only the judge can issue the charge, and this have a prima facie merit. Now, this will basically show that the judicial understanding may have an upper hand on the prosecutional understanding. But not to forget that India being one of the followers of the common law system, India also supports an equal balance of the rights of the accused as well as of the rights of the victims. And therefore, in certain cases, judicial discretion will be also applicable in understanding or in allowing bringing of the proper witnesses, or also, for example, asking certain questions, direct questions to the accused person as well as to the victims, and also for framing of the charges which would not basically go ahead for damaging the rights or, for example, damaging the reputation of the accused person. But at the same time, the entire system must also work towards the restoration of the justice towards the actual victim. Further, we would also get to see section 311 of the Criminal Procedure Code that empowers the court to examine any person as a witness, though such person has not been called by any party as a witness. Now, here we again get to see that the judicial magistrate actually steps aside from his role as a referee, and he also becomes an investigating judicial magistrate, whereby he can ask any person to appear before him as a witness. Similar power is also given to the court under section 165 of the Indian Evidence Act. So here also we do get to see a mixed system for India, from the adversarial system as well as from the inquisitorial system, and also from the common law system as well as from the civil law system. But we must understand one thing, we must remember one thing, that India basically follows common law system and adversarial system in a majority way, with a less reference to the civil law system as well as to the inquisitorial system. Further, we also see section 313, which allows the court to examine the accused at any time to get an explanation regarding the trial. Now, this system is basically provided by the court to support the rights of the accused person, and also to make the judicial magistrate understand how the procedure is going in a proper way, so that rights of both the parties are balanced. Section 321, on the other hand, prohibits the prosecutor from withdrawing the case without the consent of the court. Now, we have seen that in several cases the victims might decide to withdraw the case. In certain cases, the prosecutors also may play this trick to withdraw the case after the accused person has been basically charged, or the accused person has been basically arrested, or there is a stigma or label attached to the accused person that the case is now going on against the accused person. Now, section 321 goes ahead for prohibiting these kinds of activities. And here also we do get to see that the court plays a major role to again keep or maintain a balance between the rights of the accused person and the rights of the victim, so that no person can go ahead for stigmatizing, or for example for labeling, or for example for harassing or damaging the rights of the other person, just to bring that particular person before the court and no trial is proceeding, or just to harass that person socially, just to harass that person psychologically also, because we all know that when a person has been charged with some kind of offense, even by the police, when he is brought before the courts also and the actual charge has not been framed by the court, that may also actually influence the social reputation of that particular person who is accused with some kinds of charges. To basically stop these kinds of misuse of justice delivery system, section 321 prohibits the prosecutor from withdrawing the case without the consent of the court. The Supreme Court, however, has criticized the non-dynamic nature of adversarial adjudication on many occasions. We can get to see in one of the cases, that is Ramchandra versus State of Haryana, where the Supreme Court observed that there is an unfortunate tendency for a judge presiding over a trial to assume the role of a referee or umpire and to allow the trial to develop into a contest between the prosecution and the defense, with the inevitable distortion flowing from combative and competitive elements entering the trial procedure. That is the reason again and again the judicial precedent or the established criminal procedure code also provide a significance, or give a significance, or give a implication that the system in India basically follows adversarial system, but at the same time it also has got some influence of the inquisitorial system also. Thank you for watching my channel.